crossroads that we haven't seen in generations. A moment where the old rules of nuclear stability have basically been torn up, forcing a dangerous, new, high-stakes gamble.
Here's the headline. As of February 2026, when the New START Treaty officially expires, the very last pillar of nuclear arms control between the US and Russia is gone. This isn't just some diplomatic footnote. It means a fundamental guardrail for global security has just vanished, and it's plunging us into a pretty dangerous new era.
So the big question is, how did 5 decades of really careful, painstaking diplomacy, all designed to prevent a nuclear catastrophe, just disappear? To really get what's happening now, we have to understand what we've just lost.
So the story really begins with the slow collapse of this whole framework of arms control, the very thing that kept the Cold War from turning hot.
You see, the New START Treaty was so much more than just a limit on weapons. It was this critical safety mechanism. It built trust because it allowed for on-site inspections and demanded transparency. It gave each side the confidence that the other was actually playing by the rules. It was, honestly, the cornerstone of strategic stability.
And this number is really what it all boils down to. Under the treaty, both the US and Russia were capped right here, 1,550 deployed strategic nuclear warheads, a clear, verifiable limit on the world's most destructive weapons. And now, that limit is gone.
You know, for decades we were building a system of control. From the INF Treaty in '88, which got rid of an entire class of missiles, to START I in '91, these were huge deals. New START in 2011 kept that momentum going. But now, that entire trend is completely reversed. And with the 2026 expiration, an entire era of arms control is officially over.
And this isn't just some abstract idea. I mean, the head of the United Nations himself called the treaty's end a grave moment. He stressed that the risk of a nuclear weapon actually being used is now the highest it's been in decades. That really underscores the global weight of what just happened.
But look, the end of the treaties is only half the story. The entire strategic landscape itself has fundamentally changed and is presenting the United States with a challenge it has literally never faced before.
I mean, the difference here is just stark. The Cold War, for all its terror, was in a strange way a relatively simple two-player game. The US versus the Soviet Union. Today, we're in a multipolar world. And now, US strategy has to account for not one, but two nuclear peer competitors, Russia and a China that is expanding like crazy.
And the numbers really tell the story. Russia still has the biggest stockpile, sure, but the real game changer here is China. Its arsenal is growing at a breathtaking pace. Projections are showing it could actually reach parity with the United States in deployable warheads by the mid-2030s. This assessment from the Atlantic Council just perfectly captures this unprecedented challenge. The U.S. is sailing into completely uncharted waters, now forced to figure out how to deter two major nuclear powers at the exact same time.
So this new multipolar crisis with threats coming from Russia, China, and even North Korea is forcing a total overhaul of U.S. nuclear strategy. The old playbook, the one that was designed for a two-player world, it's pretty much obsolete.
So how is the United States supposed to adapt? Well, it's rolling out a whole new playbook, one that's all about flexibility, modernization, and a much more assertive posture.
Now, a key piece of this new strategy is something called counter-force targeting. Let's be really clear about what this means. It's not about targeting cities full of people. The idea is to deter an attack by making it crystal clear that the adversary's own military forces, their command centers, their leadership, the very things they use to wield power, are all at risk. And of course, to back that strategy up, the US is undertaking a massive modernization of its entire nuclear triad. We're talking new bombers, new land-based missiles, new submarines, the whole shebang. All of it is designed to make sure America's deterrent is both credible and survivable. And you know this is serious when you follow the money. This modernization effort is being funded in a huge way. The FY 2026 budget request for nuclear weapons programs saw a staggering 26% increase. This isn't just routine maintenance, it's a massive strategic investment.
And when you look closer at where that money's actually going, you can see a huge surge for specific, more flexible new systems. Funding for the new Sea-Launched Cruise Missile, the SLCM-N, jumped by 15 times. That's a huge signal that the priority is developing more usable, tactical nuclear options. So, what this all adds up to is that the US is building a more flexible and assertive nuclear force.
The goal seems to be to expand the range of options, from tactical all the way up to strategic, and to shift from just maintaining deterrence to re-establishing a clear qualitative advantage.
So, where does all of this lead? Well, to a very uncertain and, frankly, unsettling future. What are the global risks now that all the guardrails are gone?
I mean, just think for a second about what's been lost. For the first time in over 50 years, there are no limits, no on-site inspections, and no required transparency between the world's two biggest nuclear powers. This lack of trust and information dramatically increases the risk of a catastrophic miscalculation.
This quote just really drives home the historical weight of this moment. We've effectively dismantled a diplomatic architecture that took over half a century to build, an architecture that, for all its flaws, successfully kept the nuclear peace.
And in this new environment of deep uncertainty, a really critical question has started to pop up, and it's been raised by the president himself. Will the U.S. actually conduct a nuclear test for the first time in over 3 decades, just to make sure its arsenal is still reliable?
And that, of course, raises the terrifying possibility of a dangerous chain reaction. You can see how this would play out, right? If the U.S. tests, experts are pretty sure Russia and China would almost certainly follow suit to validate their own new weapons. Breaking that global taboo on testing could be the starting gun for a full-blown 21st century arms race.
Which brings us to our final, critical question. In this new multipolar world, with no guardrails, no trust, and no transparency, is an uncontrolled global arms race no longer just a possibility we need to avoid, but maybe an inevitability that we now have to manage?